You're going to check your phone in the next few minutes. Maybe you already did before you clicked on this video. And if someone asked you why, you'd probably say habit or boredom, or you were just checking the time. But that's not what's actually happening. What's actually happening is 300,000 years old, and it has nothing to do with your phone at all. To understand it, you have to forget the phone entirely. Picture yourself in a forest, not a park, not a hiking trail, a real forest, dense and dark, full of things that can kill you. You are a human, but an early one. No cities, no tools beyond what you can carry, no way to know what's waiting behind the next tree. In that world, the single most dangerous thing you could do was stop paying attention. Miss one rustle in the leaves, one shift in the shadows, one moment of silence where there should be sound, and you might not get another chance to notice anything ever again. So your brain built a solution, a monitoring system so automatic you don't even feel it running. It scans, constantly. Not because you tell it to, but because the ones who didn't scan didn't survive. Every few seconds, without your permission, some part of your mind sweeps the environment for change, new information, threats, signals, movement, anything that wasn't there before. That system is still running right now, in you, while you watch this. And your phone has become the most potent trigger for it that has ever existed in human history. Here's why. The ancestral monitoring system your ancestors built wasn't scanning for everything equally. It was tuned specifically for social information. Who's angry? Who's sick? Who's missing from the group? Who just got back? Whether the people around you are calm or afraid. In a band of 40 or 50 people where your survival depended entirely on group dynamics, social information was the most life-critical data that existed, more important than weather, more important than food location, more important in many moments than predators, because a shift in the group's mood could mean the difference between being protected and being abandoned. Your phone is a social information machine. Every notification is a signal that something changed in your social world. Someone responded, someone reacted, someone is angry, someone is missing. Your brain cannot tell the difference between a text message and a shift in the group's mood around a campfire 300,000 years ago. To the monitoring system, they feel identical, and so it treats every buzz, every flash, every badge on an icon as potential survival data. That's not a metaphor, that is the literal neurological mechanism firing. Researchers at the University of California found that after being interrupted by a notification, the average person takes over 20 minutes to return to their previous level of focus. Not because they chose to stay distracted, because the monitoring system, once triggered, doesn't immediately stand down. It stays alert, it keeps scanning. It wants to make sure the social situation is resolved before it lets you go back to whatever you were doing. In the forest, that made sense. You didn't stop watching the shadows after one rustle. You kept watching until you were certain. Your brain is certain of almost nothing your phone tells it. Because here's what the monitoring system was never built to handle: infinite, unresolvable social signals. In your ancestral environment, social situations had conclusions. The argument ended. The person came back. The group moved on. The tension broke. Your nervous system could scan, detect, respond, and then settle. The loop closed. Your phone never closes the loop. There is always another notification behind the last one, always another reply, another reaction, another person saying something you haven't seen yet. The monitoring system scans, detects something, you check, and before it can settle, 3 more signals arrive. So it keeps scanning, and you keep checking. Not because you are weak or addicted in the way we usually mean that word, but because you are running ancient hardware in an environment it was never designed for. The average person checks their phone 96 times a day. That's once every 10 minutes across every waking hour. And studies consistently show that most of those checks happen not in response to a notification, but spontaneously, unprompted. The person wasn't bored, they weren't waiting for something specific. The monitoring system simply triggered a check on its own schedule, the way it always has, looking for change in the social environment, the way it always has. Think about what that means. You are not checking your phone. Your phone has been colonized by a 300,000-year-old reflex that was built to keep you alive in a forest, and that reflex is now firing at a device that was specifically engineered by some of the smartest behavioral scientists on Earth to trigger it as often as possible. You were never really in control of this, but neither were they building something evil. They were building something that felt like the forest, that felt like the group, that felt like the exact thing your monitoring system had been scanning for since before your species had language. They just forgot to build in a way for the loop to close. Or maybe they didn't forget. So what do you do with this? The monitoring system can't be switched off. It was too useful for too long, but it can be redirected. The same research that identified the 20-minute focus recovery also found that people who designated specific times to check notifications, rather than responding to every trigger, showed dramatically lower cortisol levels throughout the day, lower stress, better focus, not because they were checking less information, but because they were closing the loop on their own terms, giving the monitoring system a scheduled sweep instead of letting it fire at random. Your ancestors didn't scan the forest every 10 seconds forever. They scanned, assessed, determined the environment was safe, and then they rested. The system was designed to allow rest. You just have to give it a reason to believe the forest is quiet. Put the phone in another room for an hour, not because the phone is the problem, but because your brain needs the silence to remember that the group is fine, nothing is on fire, and you are allowed to stop watching the shadows for a little while. It won't feel natural at first. 300,000 years of instinct rarely does.